But first, it's time to open up tonight's Unsolved case file. This is the part of the program where we've got stories that are incredibly tragic. Families who are searching for a sense of justice. Investigators who need help and need that tip, need some information from somewhere to help solve these cases. And tonight we're going to take you to Cleveland, Ohio. Carnell Sledge, Katherine Brown, two friends, middle of the day, meeting at the park. There's very little that is more pure, innocent, whatever you want to say about, hey, let's go meet at the park on a nice day. Sitting on a bench at the park, shot and killed. And this took place 2 years ago. It was June 4th, 2019. And as we sit here tonight, still no answers. Our affiliate, great affiliate, WEWS, has the story tonight.
For most, it was an ordinary Tuesday afternoon in Cleveland. Highs in the 70s with a tantalizing taste of warmer weather just on the horizon.
It was kind of, summer's inching closer and closer.
But for the families of Kate Brown and Carnell Sledge,
there's no sense of time. It's just as raw.
A day permanently tainted.
Missing Kate, it hits you every single day.
By a horrific crime that unfolded in the Rocky River Reservation of the Cleveland Metro Parks.
Whoever committed this crime either is the luckiest person in the world or executed this perfectly.
For Brown's family,
her birthday's coming up in October.
Yeah, October 12th.
It's the day their world turned on its axis.
It's just so incredibly painful. It impacts every facet of your life.
I look out and see families, young families, and Kate's not here.
Forced to navigate the insufferable, cyclical 5 stages of grief over the last 2 years.
We're all figuring out how as a family to stay as close as we all have always been, despite the fact that a huge part of us is gone.
After Brown and Sledge were shot to death in broad daylight in the Metro Parks. First came denial.
I don't think of Kate having been murdered because it's too painful.
And as reality began to sink in,
it's almost like you're internally bleeding.
Anger reared its head.
It's the worst feeling in the world. And I, wouldn't wish that on anyone.
After 731 days with no answers, the Brown family still finds themselves bargaining, pleading.
We wake up every day, not only ridden with grief, but constantly questioning how and why 2 wonderful people had been gunned down. We are here today at this press conference to plead with anyone who has information to please come forward.
There's no evidence, and there hasn't been a single suspect.
For Kate's younger sister, Alex Zuban, depression and despair creep in, sometimes when she least expects it.
You deal with the pain, but it never, ever, ever ceases to feel, and it takes your breath away.
It doesn't make sense. Most of these stories, they don't make sense. But someone's got information out there. If that is you, have the courage. Make the call, 216-252-7463, 216-252-7463. That's Crime Stoppers. There are 2 families who are hurting, absolutely hurting. And you have to put it in perspective, what this means, what this does to a family. I mean, Kate, Carnell aren't coming back. That part of their lives is gone forever, that huge void. But then to not know what happened, to not know why it happened, and to know that whoever is responsible is walking around free. So make that call. We posted the story on my Facebook page. Please share it. Let's get the word out. Let's bring in our special guest joining us tonight. In Cleveland, Ohio, Special Agent in charge of the FBI's Cleveland Division, Eric Smith, is with us. Also joining us once again in New Haven, Connecticut, is retired FBI Special Agent and Senior Lecturer at the University of New Haven, Kenneth Gray. Great to have you both here. Eric, let me begin with you. Rocky River Reservation. Can you describe this for folks who've never been there? And this was the middle of the day, right?
It's a beautiful day. First of all, thanks for having us. What a worthy unsolved case to talk about. And to your point, the Rocky River Reservation is a beautiful reservation just outside of Cleveland. It was a wonderful day, as your intro said. It was just starting the summer, and it was just a beautiful day, and lots of folks and lots of activity there on the reservation.
Lots of folks, lots of activity, but not lots of witnesses necessarily, Eric?
That's right. Unfortunately, not any witnesses that we can identify. We do believe somebody has information that could lead us to the individual or individuals responsible for these murders, and we're asking anybody that has even just the slightest bit of information, even if you don't think it's important, please come and talk to us. And I saw the number that you put out there earlier. We'd also like to add the 1-877 FBI Ohio number, which is manned and monitored 24/7. So please like to add that number to your list of notification possibilities.
Absolutely, 1-877 FBI Ohio. Kenneth Gray, I'm interested in your initial reaction to this story and what you think may have been going on here.
Good evening, Vinny. As we've talked about before, you have the evidence that was collected at the time of the event. And so there's not a lot that has been shared with the public as far as evidence that was collected. That may be because there wasn't a lot of evidence there to be collected at this scene for this double homicide scene. So there's not a whole lot to work with. So really, you rely upon the public, people that may have information to come forward to be able to share what they know about this case, because at the moment, there's not a whole lot to go on.
Yeah, Eric, my gut is telling me these are two really good people that, hey, let's meet in the park, and they're just in the park. In the investigation, I mean, is there anything like enemies out there, or could it be a misidentification? What are some of your thoughts, Eric, about what potentially we could be looking at here?
Yeah, well, obviously we don't want to go into all the specifics to prejudice any future trial. We do know that they were only there for a very brief span of time. Between 5:08 and 5:18 is when we believe the murders actually took place. So that's a span of only 10 minutes, and we know that based on our investigation. And so if it were a targeted attack, it would have to be somebody who would have some degree of knowledge about their whereabouts and their destinations, and we're able to trail them very quickly. So in terms of motive, we want to stay away from that, I think, and we just don't want to pigeonhole the investigation at this point.
Absolutely. Eric, can you share with us how police were initially called? Was it someone that saw the body, someone that heard something? How is it that police end up there at the Rocky River Reservation?
Yeah, that's right. There were two kayakers that identified the bodies of Carnell and Kate, and they were actually trying to put their kayaks into the water and saw Carnell laying on the ground there, and went up for a closer investigation, identified that he was in fact wounded. And so they called the Metro Parks Police Department very quickly, and the police department responded within just minutes of that call. And so that's why we can specify fairly quickly the times of their murders between 5:08 and 5:18. So a very brief time that they were there sitting on the bench, just having a conversation.
Kenneth Gray, we don't have the same limitations that Eric does. Obviously, Eric's involved in the investigation, and we respect that and appreciate that. But Kenneth, from your experience, they're there for like 10 minutes. I mean, to me, it's possible that perhaps someone could have been followed there, or it's completely random.
So the likelihood of it being random, I would think, is very small. The shooter probably knew one or both of these individuals. Carnell Sledge worked with kids. It very well could be that by exploring his background, exploring cases that he worked on with these kids, that it may very well be somebody that had a grudge against them because of something in that past. Or it could be somebody that knew Katherine Brown. She apparently liked to go to this park. It was not her first time at the park, and so it could very well be someone that was targeting her. But the likelihood of somebody just happening upon them and picking that moment to murder two people, I would say, is pretty remote. Somebody knew these two people, one or both of these people.
So as we do with all these stories, we post it on Facebook, ask you to share it, but people also post comments. And Terry tonight writing, grew up in this area and am very familiar with this area of that park. The park itself goes on for miles, and there are places where you may not see other people. I could very well see where there wouldn't be any witnesses. Eric, for us who have never been to the park, how big is it? Are there a lot of different ways in and out?
It does. It stretches for quite a long way down by the river. Lots of ingress and egress locations. This lot is used, very often by runners, bikers, kayakers, and so it is it's also a location where you can actually get around some interstate traffic and use this sort of a cut through to bypass some traffic on the interstate. And so it is fairly, it's traveled fairly frequently. And so the idea that something like this could happen on a sunny day at 5 o'clock is not only brazen, but it's really unheard of in terms of that location.
Mel tonight writes, so sad. I really feel for this family. A park that size, maybe no witnesses, but people talk. It's nature. Someone or some people know something. And Kenneth Gray, sometimes that's how this happens, right? Someone says something to someone else maybe breaks up with someone and they've got information, or someone else gets jammed up in the legal system on some other charges and has information. And sometimes that's where you get your breaks.
Exactly. The family, Katherine Brown's family, kicked in some money to the reward money for information. So there's actually $100,000, I believe, out for information leading to an arrest in this case. That's serious money that may entice somebody to come forward that may be reluctant to do so otherwise. Absolutely.
Eric, just to let people know, give us a little inside baseball on how so you get a call, what happens from there? Like, let's say someone picks up the phone tonight and they call 1-877-FBI-OHIO. What's sort of the process, the protocol from call to some action?
Well, the first thing they should know is that any information they provide to us is absolutely confidential, and that none of their information is going to go public. They will never be identified. And so we encourage people. We know somebody out there has the keys to solve this, and we appreciate this national exposure, and we believe that somebody outside of our area and our typical viewing area might be able to lead us to a solution here. And so we encourage people to reach out to us, 877 FBI Ohio, just recognizing that your information, your name, everything that you tell us is going to be confidential and strictly between the caller and the FBI.
And it's absolutely the right thing to do. You look at these two young people, had incredible lives in front of them, and cut short on a beautiful day in June at the park. Kenneth Gray, from your experience, how much does it mean to families when they do get at least a sense of justice, right? You're not going to get your loved one back. You don't get what we call closure. But when they get that sense of justice that, hey, the case has been solved, the questions have been answered, and they get a sense of justice.
Well, right now they've got this big question mark, the question mark that is hanging over them every day. They need an answer to that question mark as to why. And so it will make a huge, huge difference in both families to find out who is responsible for this. As you say, it won't bring them back, but it at least will answer those questions.
And that's the heartbreak that these families go through. So, folks, that's why we do the segment. Again, any information, please call 1-877-FBI-OHIO is the number. Eric Smith, we appreciate you coming on. And Eric, I'll tell you this, when we do stories here on Closing Arguments Court TV, it's not one and done. We will continue to do the story until there is justice in the case. So we thank you for coming on. Kenneth Gray, always great to see you as well. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.